Today we are going to talk about our heart and the chambers of our heart and the pathway in which blood flows through our heart. Now, here we have a picture of the anatomy of a human heart. So we are looking at it from the perspective outside looking in. So if you were to look at my heart, for example, the left side would be over here, the right side would be on this side. So that's why the right side is shown really on the left, and the left side shown on the right, because it's like you're looking at the heart when it's inside the body. So there are four main chambers to the heart, and blood flows through these chambers. The right side of the heart generally contains deoxygenated blood. So this is blood that doesn't have oxygen in it. The left side of the heart contains oxygenated blood. So this is blood that contains oxygen. And I indicate the deoxygenated blood using blue. So blue indicates deoxygenated blood. So this is blood that doesn't have oxygen. Red is indicated over on the left side, and that shows the blood has oxygen. So red indicates it has oxygen. So here we have the four main chambers, and we're going to go through these chambers and talk about the blood vessels that carry blood through the heart. So our circulatory system is made up of our heart and lots of blood vessels. And the blood vessels are used to carry blood through our body. They're like channels. So our blood is made up of many different types of cells, but the main types include red blood cells, also called erythrocytes. And these are the blood cells that carry oxygen through your blood. All right, they take oxygen to where it's needed, like in your brain or your stomach, and actually to the heart, because the heart actually needs oxygen too to do its job. And they pick up carbon dioxide, it's a waste product, take it to the lungs. So, red blood cells carry oxygen and carbon dioxide through the bloodstream. Then we have white blood cells, and there are different types of white blood cells. Leukocytes and lymphocytes, two main types, and they are really involved in your immune system. So protection from disease, involved in creating antibodies, and just to help protect you from diseases or anything that would cause disease, and that is called a pathogen. So a pathogen is a word that means anything that can cause a disease. So it could be a virus like COVID-19, or it could be bacteria such as pneumococcus or streptococcus. So pneumococcus is a bacteria that causes pneumonia, and streptococcus is a bacteria that causes strep throat. So immune system, think white blood cells. And then we have platelets. So platelets are also in your blood, and they are involved in clotting. So you don't bleed to death if you cut yourself. All right, so those are the three main types. You got red blood cells, white blood cells, and platelets. And those are the three main types of blood cells in your bloodstream. Now, how do we get the blood cells through your body? How does it work? Well, we have a heart that acts as a pump. So the heart is really a pump. It pumps the blood through your body. So the rest of your body, your brain, all your organs can get oxygen and can be protected from pathogens. We have to get the blood out there. So we're going to go through the chambers of the heart, starting with entering the heart from the rest of the body. So after your brain, your stomach, your muscles have all received oxygen from the blood, and they've removed carbon dioxide, the blood comes back to the heart. So that's where we're going to start. And here we have two main blood vessels that come back to the heart are the inferior vena cava. Inferior means below or under. So this blood vessel would carry blood coming from below the heart. Okay, inferior vena cava. Superior vena cava, superior is above, so this would be like blood coming from your brain. These two blood vessels are going to deliver the deoxygenated blood to the heart from the rest of the body. So now we're coming into the heart from the rest of the body. And they enter the right atrium. So the right atrium is the first chamber we're going to learn about. And this is the chamber that collects the deoxygenated blood from the rest of the body. It's called the right atrium. Okay? So this chamber picks up the deoxygenated blood. Now, the blood has to flow from the right atrium to the next chamber called the right ventricle. And when it does that, it flows through. So the blood has to flow from the right atrium to the right ventricle. And to do that, it passes through a valve that makes sure the blood flows in the right direction. So this valve is called the tricuspid valve. Right here, tricuspid valve, it's a narrowing that kind of opens and closes and keeps the blood flowing in one direction. So it keeps if you think of their blood cells as like cars on Highway 280, they're going the same direction. Okay. However, sometimes you get somebody that gets confused and they get on the road and they're going the wrong way. All right, that's not good. Obviously, they'll get an accident, cause a lot of turbulence in the blood flow. So turbulence think of like turbulence when you're flying in a plane. Really, same thing. So it's a disruption of that flow of blood. It becomes chaotic. If it's not going in one direction, it's chaos. It starts to spread out. It can go backwards, and this is not good. And this is what is really considered a heart murmur, is when you don't have the blood all going in one synchronized direction. So now the blood is in the right ventricle. Again, this is deoxygenated blood. We need to get oxygen in the blood, and we need to remove the carbon dioxide. So the right ventricle pumps this deoxygenated blood to the lungs. And when it pumps to the lungs, it goes through pulmonary arteries. So pulmonary arteries, and then so right here, the main one, and then it branches into two, because it has to go to the right and left lungs. So this right ventricle is going to pump the blood through the pulmonary arteries to the lungs, so the blood can get oxygen and then remove the carbon dioxide. So pulmonary arteries carry deoxygenated blood. So a lot of times people get confused. They think arteries always carry oxygenated blood and veins carry deoxygenated blood. And that is not the case always. The way to remember the difference between arteries and veins is that arteries start with an A. They go away from the heart, away from the heart, away. Away from the heart, arteries. So they carry blood away from the heart. Pulmonary arteries carry blood away from the heart. And in this case, it's deoxygenated blood because they have to go to the lungs. So now, they go to the lungs. They pick up oxygen now and remove carbon dioxide. So now the blood is oxygenated, has oxygen in it. So we have to get the oxygen now to the rest of the body. So now we have to get that oxygen to the rest of the body where we need it. Like your brain needs a lot of oxygen. So we need to get that oxygen to your brain. So we have to first go to the heart again, because the lungs are not going to pump the blood out. Pulmonary veins do not have enough power to pump the blood to the rest of the body, but they do have enough power to pump the blood to the heart. So in the lungs now, so we have lungs on either side here. From the lungs, now we have oxygenated blood. So now it'll be red. We're gonna go now to the left side of the heart where it's oxygenated. So from the lungs, the blood travels through pulmonary veins. So pulmonary veins go to the heart. Arteries go away. Pulmonary veins actually carry oxygenated blood because they left the lungs. They're leaving the lungs. So pulmonary veins come in. Well, there's two main ones, and they come together, pulmonary vein, and they enter the left atrium of the heart. So this is another chamber of the heart called the left atrium, right here. Left atrium, chamber of the heart. Then they pass through another valve called a bicuspid valve, also called a mitral valve. So mitral valve, bicuspid valve right here, keeps the blood flowing. It keeps the traffic going one direction. Like you don't want cars going the opposite way. If you're on Highway 280, you've got one road with many lanes goes one direction, one road with many lanes goes the other direction. Okay, if you get somebody that's going the wrong direction and they get confused, which can sometimes be easy to do, you have turbulence. Causes confusion, chaos, not good. So now, we get into the left ventricle. We're in the left ventricle now. Left ventricle has a lot of power. Usually the wall of the left ventricle is a little thicker because this blood now has to go to the rest of the body. So the blood from your left ventricle is going to be pumped out and go to the rest of your body, like your brain, your stomach, right? To give the rest of your body oxygen. So left ventricle is going to pump the blood out into the aorta. So the aorta is right here, and this branches off. There are many branches off the aorta, and the blood will be carried to the rest of the body. Now it's interesting because one of the first branches that comes off the aorta are the coronary arteries. And the coronary arteries come off, and they are actually going to provide the heart with oxygen. So the heart needs oxygen too. So your heart, the outside of it, is covered with blood vessels, coronary arteries. And they narrow down, become coronary arterioles, and they narrow down, become capillaries. But it's just surrounded with blood vessels because the heart needs a lot of oxygen to pump. So off the aorta, these coronary arteries would come off and wrap around the entire heart. And one of the biggest, actually the biggest killer is heart disease, and it's coronary artery disease. And what happens is the arteries that are around the heart get filled up with plaque, which is caused by like fatty deposits, cholesterol. They fill up those arteries because arteries are very thin, and they fill them up, and they can block the blood flow, so the blood can't flow through the coronary arteries. And if the blood can't flow through, your heart cannot get oxygen. If your heart can't get oxygen, it's not going to be able to pump. It can cause a heart attack. So really the number one killer in the United States is actually heart disease, but it's specifically coronary artery disease. And it's due to the buildup of plaque in the coronary arteries, and which is caused by fat and cholesterol buildup. So it's very important to diet, just to watch your diet, to exercise, and to not smoke, because that can help prevent coronary artery disease. So it's just, if you think of it, the engineering is amazing. Look at this, nature has engineered this. We couldn't engineer anything better than this. So that's why engineers are really inspired by nature. You think of our anatomy and how everything works. It all makes sense. So this is just showing you how the blood flows through the heart.